What up, you guys, and welcome back to CHENG'S Aqua. And today we're going to talk about taking care of bristlenose pleco fry. Now, there's going to be a couple of tips, basically what I do to take care of my pleco fry, because I've noticed that a lot of people have a lot of problems. Now, this is majority directed towards bristlenose plecos, the super red ones, but I also do take care of snow whites and lemon blue eyes. So they work for all three, and of course commons and albinos, but this is targeted towards super reds. Now, first I wanted to talk about was their water conditions, water parameters, water temperature, all that fun stuff. I like to keep my fish at between 73, 74 on the colder days to up to 80 degrees. I wouldn't pass that. Even 79 is, I probably don't even get over that. I keep it between that temperature because it's a stable temperature that I can continue to have throughout the year. And it's safe for them and also helps with the growth. The hotter the temperature is, the faster they usually grow. But I believe jumping it up over 80 is just insanity to me. Not needed, and I've seen people do it and it works, but just for me, I don't think it's worth it. Because one day if your power goes out, you're dropping your degrees way too fast and your temperature too fast, and you can shock them. Next, I wanted to talk about pH levels. Now, I keep mine I try to keep mine at a 7. But sometimes it fluctuates between 6.5 to 7.5 depending on how much driftwood I have. So we've already talked about temperature, we've already talked about pH. What else is there to talk about? Water changes, which is kind of got to do with water quality, because water parameters, because you want to make sure that the water quality stays the same and it doesn't go down, which can also stunt your growth of the fish, or it could even kill them. When they're this young, you also don't want to overdo water changes because, to be honest, they're very fragile, so they don't like too much change, but they want to try to maintain the water conditions as much as possible. So what I like to do is at least once a week, I do about a 25% water change that I have babies in. It also depends on how heavily stocked it is or how big your aquarium is. Now, if you have 5 in a 10-gallon tank, you probably don't have to even do it that often. But if you have, let's say, 50 in a 10-gallon tank growing out, yeah, you probably have to do it at least once a week, if not more. Again, you want to try to make sure that you keep the same temperature when you're putting in new water, because these guys are so small and are so fragile. Any big change like that can actually cause ick or sicknesses. Since we mentioned about sicknesses, I wanted to talk about ick, because at this age, it could be deadly. I myself have dealt with ick when it comes down to super red pleco fry many and multiple times, and that's usually due to temperature acclimation stress. When these guys get ick at this age, it's more than likely that they're all going to pass away, if not most. Mainly due to the fact that you can't really use any medication except for raising your temperature to try to heal them, because any medication would more than likely be too strong for them to handle, and that itself could kill them. And if you don't use the medication, the ick will probably kill them. Now, how to avoid ick? Now, what I like to do is, again, making sure the temperature does not fluctuate maybe more than 1 or 2 degrees at a time. Especially if I'm moving over fish to a grow-out tank, I definitely let them acclimate for 45 minutes at minimum. That is a huge thing that can cause ick, and it's happened to me before. When I've done it too quickly, I've ended up just losing a whole batch. Again, temperature is a huge thing. Water parameters are a huge thing. These guys are sensitive. They don't like change. They don't like big volume water changes at this age, I realized. Unless they were grown up on it. I mean, I've never done it that way, but I would assume that might work. But my way that I've been working with is try not to do huge water changes, and when I do them, making sure that the temperature of the water stays the same or is relatively close to the water of to the temperature of the aquarium. Now, I know I mentioned about raising your temperature up, and how I like to keep mine at about a 75 degree on average. When I've got, if for any reason there's ick in there, I would raise it slowly, gradually raising it up to maybe 83 degrees. But I would not keep it there permanently, because, again, I don't want to, first of all, that's really hot for them, and I don't want to have my heat on all the time, because it's 83 degrees. I'm going to have to spend much more money on electricity as well, and they don't really technically need it. Only the whole point of raising it up is so the sickness will pass by faster. Let's talk about feeding them. They're basically their diet. Now, what I like to feed is zucchinis, bell peppers, and string beans, all fresh, and then I blanch them. Basically just to let them sink without me having to use any forks and stuff like that. And it also makes it softer for them to munch on. And I think as a baby, I feel like it should just make it easier for them. Anyway, I also do feed them a variety of bug bites. They're the algae wafers. I also feed Hikari algae wafers, and as well as one more. Oh yeah, Ropashi Solium Green. I've done many videos on how to make those, but I realized that they love that stuff. They devour that as fast as possible. Again, it does take a little bit more work. It does smell bad, and to be honest, I think it's a little more expensive, but definitely worth it, especially if you're trying to breed these guys and trying to grow these out a lot faster. They'll die for it. They really love that stuff. Now let's talk about tank size. Now I usually have them in a breeder box until I move them to their grow out tank, and that's mainly due to the fact that I want to be able to see them every day, quick and easy, and I also wanted to make sure that they can find their food. That is the number one priority in there, is because when they're this young, they need to be constantly munching on things. Whether it's food, whether it's on driftwood, whether it's on plants, they need food all the time, and they might not be able to find it as quickly in a bigger tank. So I put them in there until they're about this size in the actual video. And then I move them over to my 10-gallon tank, and then after that, after they get about 2-3 inches, then I can move them over somewhere else where I have either a 20-gallon, 40-gallon, 50-gallon, etc. It could be in any other aquarium after that. It's just so they can survive without having to eat every single day or for the next 10 or next 5 hours. They can survive without that. Anyway, again, that's what I do. I keep them until they're about an inch, in this, a little less than an inch in the breeder box, and then I transfer them over to a 10-gallon aquarium, and then from there on, they can grow and they can go into wherever they want. Or I probably sell them. I usually tend to just sell them. Anyway, I think I'm going to cut the video here before I make the video too long. I do want to mention that I did start a members only channel, part of this channel. Definitely check that out. I'm on Instagram and all the other social medias. And if you have any questions, just drop them down in the comments below. Any questions on what you want to see next or you need help with, etc. Anyway, hope you guys did like the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to see more videos like this. And share this video with others who are trying to breed or dealing with these type of problems with plecos. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hopefully I see you in the next video.